How to figure out if you need an engineer certificate for your pop-up, brand activation, or experiential event using 5 simple triggers. Thousands of projects are being produced every single day, and too often nobody tells you need one of these until it's way too late. This puts marketing managers and producers into panic mode because all of a sudden their pop-up, brand activation or event can't go live without it. The chaos starts to rain down on everyone because now there's an endless list of things that may need to change and time's running out. So today I want to help you make sure you never find yourself in this situation. When we ask brands and experiential agencies whether their project is going to require an engineer certificate or not, typically speaking, they come back to us with one of 4 answers. Yes, we do. No, we don't. I'm not sure, or what's an engineer certificate? So today, I'm going to talk you through the 5 most common triggers that are going to help you answer this question. Now, the 5th one is the one that most people get caught out on, and I don't want you to get stung, so please don't miss it. But before I do that, let's do a really quick rundown of what an engineer certificate is. To put this as simply as I can, in this context, an engineer certificate is a document that you can provide to the venue or the powers above that shows them the measures that have been taken or that need to be taken to make your custom build safe to be around. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they cover as well, but I'm not going to get into that today. That's the main thing you need to know. Every project's different. There's a million variations to every custom build. So with that being said, today I'm going to hit you with the big 5. So let's get into it. Trigger number 1, the great outdoors. If your structure's going outside and it's going to be exposed to wind, chances are you're going to need a certificate. One of the really important details in that document is how much weight or ballast you're going to need to weigh that structure down. It's also going to tell you that when the wind starts blowing at a particular speed, the moment that you and your guests need to hightail it out of there because of the risk that this thing could blow over or fly up into the sky during a freak storm. And speaking of weights and ballast, this brings us to trigger number 2, when your structure weighs a shitload. When we think about custom builds and safety, we typically think about things blowing over or falling on people. But one thing that isn't always considered is, can this thing fall through the floor? Crazy, huh? So here's the deal. All floors have a maximum load rating, which basically means how many kilograms can you put per square meter of floor. Your venue should be able to provide you with this information, and your engineer certificate should be able to demonstrate that you're not beyond the maximum rating. This is especially important if your custom build is not on the ground floor of a building or being set up on a pier or a jetty. The last thing you want is this thing falling through the floor or tipping into the harbour. Trigger number 3, hanging and overhead structures. If you're putting something over people's heads, chances are you're going to need it certified. Now look, this isn't always the case, but at least this scenario should prompt the conversation to happen. Objects falling and clocking people in the head is going to get you a whole bunch of engagement and exposure, but not the kind you want. Trigger number 4, people climbing, jumping, or walking on your custom build. If you've got performers or the general public standing on your custom build, chances are you're gonna need it certified. You need to know how many people are allowed to be on that structure at any one time and the safety measure that need to be in place for this to be okay. So for example, this could be handrails, harnesses, floor surfaces, and that type of thing. And here's the big one that catches most people out. Trigger number 5, because the venue said so. I know that sounds brutal, but sometimes certain venues just have this as a compulsory requirement for any custom builds going into their space, even when common sense tells you you probably don't need one. I've seen some pretty ridiculous things need to get a certificate in my time. For example, a plinth that was inside on the floor with nobody around it, but at the end of the day, that box just had to be ticked. So the best advice I can give you is to ask the venue when you book it at the start of the project. Too many times in the last 15 years, I've seen marketing managers and producers get asked to provide these certificates in the final hour, and it does nothing good for everybody's stress levels. If this has happened to you, don't worry, you're not the only one. Just ask the venue at the start of the project. It'll take you 20 seconds and it'll save you a massive headache later on. Before I wrap this up, I want to share one more bonus piece of information with you, which is really important because it might save you some money. You might like to know that there's 2 really common types of engineer certificates used for pop-ups, brand activations, and experiential events. There are design certificates and inspection certificates. The design certificate is going to tell you that the structure has been designed to be safe. An inspection certificate is where the engineer has actually come to site, checked the structure over, and is satisfied that the structure has been built to the design certificate. You're probably always going to need a design certificate, but check with your venue whether you need the inspection certificate as well, because in some cases you might not, and this is going to save you a few bucks. That way you'll know exactly what's required from the beginning and you won't be scrambling in the final hour. I hope this video was helpful and cleared up some stuff that maybe you weren't 100% about. Share this with your teams and your colleagues. Keep the awesome ideas coming, and I'll catch you on the next one.